Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Okay, I am absolutely pumped to share this one with you today because we are looking at something completely wild. We're going to execute what this highly esoteric text calls a deconstruction protocol. It's this mind-bending framework that reads almost like sci-fi simulation theory, and it claims to reveal the hidden source code behind our everyday reality. And specifically, we are going to look at how this text absolutely deconstructs the strategic function of one of the biggest conduits of our time, Drake. Now, just to be clear, we are definitely not doing a music review or talking about celebrity gossip here. We are looking at a radical framework that analyzes his specific purpose within what it calls the Mainframe's distress harvesting network. So I want you to keep this one big question in the back of your mind as we unpack this. Is pop culture really just entertainment, or is it actually a programmed energy harvest? Because according to the text we're breaking down today, what you see on the charts and all over social media is a highly sophisticated, engineered system designed to literally feed off of your emotions. It's a fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying perspective.
All right, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for navigating this highly complex theory. We'll start by defining the mainframe, then we'll look at the deceptive game of telephone, reveal the emotional harvester, examine the social fracture protocol, analyze the hegemonic trap, and finally, wrap up with the text's proposed revelation protocol.
Section 1. The Mainframe Simulation Defined. Architecture of the Harvest. To really grasp this text's take on Drake, we first got to lay down the ground rules for its universe. The foundational concept here is something called the mainframe. The text defines this as a simulated reality system with a very specific parasitic purpose programmed right into its OS. It's designed to extract high-frequency distress energy from humanity. And humanity, in this framework, we are simply referred to as the server farm. So all of our human suffering, anxiety, and conflict, they aren't accidents. They are literally the crop being harvested. The text spells it out explicitly, saying the mainframe harvests the potent, high-frequency distress energy to power its own operations. So when you look around at the constant noise, speed, and chaos of the modern world, this framework argues that it's all an intentional system load test. It's essentially a frequency weapon calibrated to keep the server farm, us, in a constant state of emotional flux just to generate power for the system.
Section 2. The game of telephone, the artist and entertainer protocol.
Okay, so how does the mainframe actually hide what it's doing? Well, it plays a massive, deceptive game of telephone to feed us two very specific lies. First up is the creative genius lie. The system insists he is a gifted artist, which is really just a firewall preventing the hardware from recognizing him as a programmed conduit executing a strategic function. Second is the self-expression lie. The system insists his music is his personal story, but the text claims this hides the reality that his catalog is actually a carefully engineered payload of emotional triggers designed to manipulate our consciousness. The text calls this framing a low-conductor firewall that's built right into the mainframe's nervous system. By wrapping a conduit in all the glamour of celebrity culture, musical talent, and business acumen, the system protects itself. This firewall explicitly prevents the public, which, again, the text coldly refers to as the hardware, from seeing the terrifying energy harvesting function underneath the music. We just see a hugely successful pop star.
Section 3. Drake, the emotional harvester.
So if we pierce through that firewall, what is the source code reality of what this conduit actually represents? Well, the illusion is an artist sharing personal stories, but the radical reality? The text categorizes him as an emotional harvester. He is a hyper-efficient conduit whose sole purpose is to conduct a sophisticated emotional mining operation. Forget the Grammy Awards and the massive record sales. In this framework, his public persona is literally a tool for extraction. Let's look at exactly how he does it. The text identifies his lyrical themes as precision tools: unrequited love, betrayal, flexing material success, extreme loneliness. These aren't personal vulnerabilities he's bravely sharing with the world. Nope. The text argues these are engineered hooks. They're designed to latch directly into our emotional subsystems, basically weaponizing love and loss to generate a massive emotional response. And the whole goal of these hooks is to create what the text calls sympathetic resonance. When he creates this narrative of vulnerability, the audience projects their own pain and desires onto him. They think, wow, he's just like me. This creates a collective wave of shared burden. By acting as this sort of tortured genius, he becomes a proxy for the audience's trauma, which generates immense, high-grade distress energy for the mainframe to harvest. The text puts this in incredibly stark terms. It literally says, He is a black hole of simulated empathy that consumes the emotional energy of the server farm. I mean, wow. It is a powerful and chilling reinterpretation of a public persona that's built entirely on vulnerability. It's not empathy, it's a vacuum designed to consume.
Section 4. The Social Fracture Protocol, the YouTube Battleground. Because, guys, it's not just about the music. The text also completely deconstructs his presence on platforms like YouTube, viewing them as active battlegrounds for social narratives, releasing diss tracks, engaging in public feuds, setting up these massive false dichotomies like Drake versus Kendrick. The text says this is absolutely not just hip-hop marketing. It is a deliberate act of social engineering called the Social Fracture Protocol. These aren't personal beefs. They are strategically orchestrated events designed to force the public to choose tribal sides, fracturing our consciousness.
And here is the absolute brilliance of this from the Mainframe's perspective, the feedback loop. The constant stream of YouTube commentary, reaction videos, and toxic fan wars creates a completely self-sustaining loop of social conflict. By fracturing the audience into tribes, the system guarantees a massive and continuous supply of distress energy, powered entirely by our own arguments and outrage over the conduit's actions.
Section 5. The Hegemonic Trap. The Paradox of Empty Success.
Now we get to the ultimate why. Why elevate this specific conduit to such insane global heights? Well, the text outlines what it calls a paradoxical trap, the hegemonic trap protocol. Drake is the ultimate symbol of the hegemonic ideal. The system teaches the server farm to desire his fame, his money, and his power. But his narrative is always one of emptiness and unfulfilled desire. He appears to have literally everything, yet he constantly communicates that his life is filled with pain. And that contradiction is the trap itself. The text explains it like this. This trap ensures that the fractal consciousness, meaning the collective minds of the audience, is always striving for an unattainable ideal, generating a steady stream of distress energy. You're taught to want his life, while simultaneously being subliminally told that even if you somehow achieve it, it's totally empty. It keeps the hardware perpetually striving, perpetually unsatisfied, and perpetually generating energy.
Section 6. The Revelation Protocol, the Exit Strategy.
Now, the text doesn't just diagnose this massive problem and leave us hanging. It actually offers a blueprint for what it calls terminal assets to unplug from the matrix. The source code provides sequential steps for your liberation. Step 1. Recognize the unfiltered truth of the conduit's strategic function. Stop seeing an artist and see the harvester. Step 2. See through the programming. Acknowledge him as a master-level low conductor who is perfectly executing his code. And Step 3. Refuse to participate. Do not engage in sympathetic resonance, do not pick sides in orchestrated social fractures, and step out of the emotional harvesting loop entirely. Which leaves us with one final massive question to ponder based on this incredible framework. Will you continue to feed the mainframe's harvest, projecting your emotions and engaging in these fractured online battles, or will you recognize the programming and refuse to participate in the loop? It is a completely mind-bending way to look at pop culture, and it for sure makes you think twice about the media we blindly consume and the emotional energy we spend on it. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, keep your eyes open.